Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire here with the big takeaways from week 14 of the NFL season. Cannot believe week 14 is just about in the rearview mirror. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everybody had a profitable weekend. Prop calls this weekend, man, the process was so good on all four of them. 2 out of 4 hit. It was crazy because they all four were on easy track to hit at halftime to go over. Swift doesn't see as many targets as he normally does. That gets lowered. And they throw a pass to Justin Jackson out of the backfield. Eats up 29% of the snap share. Came out of nowhere. Not good. And then the other one that went under, oh my gosh, I remember which one that one was. It'd be dangerous. But yeah, anyway, that was on track too. Can't remember which one it was, which is probably good. All right, let's dust it off and let's get rolling here. So the Ravens bring back J.K. Dobbins. Now, look, this is a tough call. But I did not get many start-sit questions about J.K. Dobbins because I think we kind of all understood the drill. He was handled with kid gloves when they brought him back early in the season. He kept saying he was ready, and they sat him out week 1 and week 2, and then very limited snap share, and then he ended up, having another procedure. Man, they put him back to the same role he had in 2020 as a rookie down the stretch where he was playing about half of the snaps, splitting with Gus Edwards. He had 15 carries. Gus Edwards had 13. It was a very similar thing. But man, did Dobbins look good. Playing a Steelers defense that's excellent against the run. And look, Rob Dobbins wasn't catching him by surprise. The Steelers divisional opponent, they know who he is, but he looked really good, like pre-ACL. So don't know if this is what we'll get going forward. I assume it is. I don't think you come out, look great on the knee, and then all of a sudden the knee's not so hot. So I think J.K. Dobbins, again, just understand the workload's going to be limited. I got a sneeze coming, not good. Anyway, that was the thing. Chunk runs immediately early in that game. He had like a 40-yard run early in that game, dynamic in the red zone. It was just a wonderful performance. So he did get targets. I believe he had 3 targets, and I should have put that down in the notes, but I think it was 3 targets. And maybe he didn't. I'm trying to remember that one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know early in the season, I think it was early in the season. We played those couple games. He had targets early, so I don't think there were targets in this one. But anyway, that said, you're starting him right now. Now he'll have a good matchup this week, so he has a really good projection. But I think otherwise, you're looking. Look, he's basically a strong RB2, like running back 17, 16, but he had like 8 touchdowns like in his last 8 games in 2020. So he has that touchdown upside. When he gets that touchdown, he's in that RB1 range. But again, it's the lack of carries because the split and it's the lack of targets. But J.K. Dobbins is back. All right, Miles Sanders. We talked about this one. This is a prop that came through with a lot of room to spare. He tore up the Giants. Now, this is what's interesting about Philadelphia. And I mentioned this when I previewed these games. Philadelphia can beat you any way they choose. And when oppositions come in and they try to take something away, the coaching staff just like hit an easy button. They hit the easy button. They go to something different. So what I noticed was early in the game, the Giants were outmanned. But I think they knew what I knew and what the Eagles did was the Eagles were going to come out and run. So the Giants who were without Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence was great, as he always is, but they were without Leonard Williams. That hurt them. Well, they came in, they tried to clog the middle. They thought, all right, well, they're going to try to run inside us. We're going to clog the middle. Well, right away, they started going to different places. They started pulling Jason Kelce on the block. And so then they were kicking to the outside. And then they threw the ball a little bit early too, which was really smart because they saw that that's what the Giants were going to give them. But then as soon as the Giants realized, okay, what our game plan was is not working, and then they had to kind of go back and play normally on defense, the Giants went right back to their game plan all along. And Miles Sanders went off in the second half. Now, these games will be somewhat predictable. We've kind of called when he's had his bigger games. When they played the Titans, we said they're probably not going to run him. Why run against the Titans when you can throw on them all day? And Sanders had like 25 yards. So we kind of saw that coming. And it's not Sanders' fault. Eagles, like I said, because they can win anyway, they're not going to play into your strength as a defense. They're going to play to your weakness because they can do that. And anyway, it's just a really, really fun team to watch right now, especially on offense. And defensively, we know, they shored up the run defense. Jordan Davis is back. Didn't play a lot of snaps. And they, obviously a week ago, they brought in Ndamukong Suh. They brought in Linval Joseph. They're depth heads. But that's huge when you're rotating the big defensive linemen. The big thing with stopping the run is having mass and talent. And they brought that in, and they don't need them to play, 30 snaps each. They play 20, 25, and just rotate them. Saquon Barkley's the next one. So he failed to reach 7 PPR points for the second time in his last 4 games. And he's been held to 52 or fewer scrimmage yards in 3 of his last 4 games. Again, another one we've talked about, but it's important. It's under this year's NFL. The weekly game planning has been raised a notch and a half. It's like playoff game planning in the regular season. And you've heard me say it. These one-dimensional offenses, teams are saying, beat us with your left hand. We are going to do everything we can to take away your right. You beat us with the left. Daniel Jones beat us with the pass. And we said with the Eagles had the great advantage is they have 2 outstanding corners in Darius Slay and James Bradbury. So if they want to load against the run, they still could take down 2 receivers. And certainly the Giants didn't have it. Now, the Giants were able to be effective in the slot. Remember, Avonte Maddox is their slot corner. He's been on the injured reserve. I hope they get him back. And I don't know when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's coming back. He was also on the IR. I don't know if they're going to be back closer to the playoffs. Not quite sure. Oh, yeah, Pollard over on the other rushing. Man, he was a 37 yards at the half. And then, of course, we all predicted that Dallas would be losing that game to the Titans. We all knew that was happening. Oh, my gosh. Trailing the Texans. Wow. Trailing late in the 4th quarter. Yeah, nobody saw that one coming. 17-point favorite, and they were lucky to win. And wow. But anyway, that was the other prop that went south. Again, this all process, right? You have the process, all the trends, every trend was with that, and the matchup, the game script, the intended game script, all those things. And that's why it's gambling, right? Because if it was an easy button, everybody would win every time. It's these crazy things, And so I think sometimes when you're betting these, you got all the trends, but you're also betting the outcome of the game in some ways. And if the game is an upset, your prop may be an upset as well. And that was the whole problem, right? But even with DeAndre Swift, to a degree, though, it was just they were, I don't know, they won. They played well. But like I said before, they gave Justin Jackson all these snaps. All right, let's get back to what we were talking about. I'm glad that came up. That was the other prop that went south. All right, Zonovan Knight. Look, he's here to stay as a strong fantasy option for this year. I had a great question from my RotoWire teammate, Alan Soslowski, and I believe it was on the XM show. I believe that's where it was, but maybe we're just talking on the phone. But the question was this: Zonovan Knight next year. I said, look, if Breece Hall is back healthy, there's no split backfield. Breece Hall is one of those like top 5 running backs, And I'm not saying he's any of these guys, but he was like what you envision, Saquon to be, or you envision, all the elite. He's not any of these guys. McCaffrey, these are the guys that you load your offense on, and they do different things and they're special at it. But it's not like, oh yeah, the Zonovan Knight kid, yeah, he's pretty good. No, he's not Breece Hall. Breece Hall could take the ball to the house every play. He won't every play, obviously, but he can. And so when you cut down his snaps, you take away those opportunities for those yards and those big plays. And Zonovan Knight, and they still got Michael Carter. Breece Hall is going to play 75% of the snaps. That's my guess, 75%. You don't play running backs 100% of the time. The Steelers did it with Najee Harris last year. Probably wasn't smart. Overplay the guy. You don't overplay these guys that much. So there'll be some scraps. Zonovan Knight looks really, really good. Over 100 scrimmage yards in the first 2 games, and he didn't make 100 against Buffalo. But props to him. It was a snowy, cold, defensive-minded game, like we talk about. The Bills weren't worried about getting beat by Mike White. They were making sure the running game didn't get rolling, and so he had 77 yards. And that's great. He looked and he scored a touchdown, right? And so Zonovan Knight will be a thing the rest of the way. I mean, he's going to be a top 20 running back going forward in my weekly rankings. And, obviously when I go through each individual game, it'll be, dial up, dial down, depending on, the opponent and the potential game script. But the young man can play. He definitely can play. But here was the one thing that was kind of like the buried idea. I go over all the snap shares on Monday morning, and so realizing Zonovan Knight had like most of the work. Michael Carter had a couple carries and a couple catches. Well, he had 5 targets, Michael Carter did. And Michael Carter actually outsnapped him. But we see that, a lot of times we see that when a running back is on the field, they're using him. And if they need to scale back his snaps, then maybe obvious passing downs, he's off the field. Michael Carter's an accomplished receiver, so a lot to do with that as well, right? You put your receiving specialist in, which Michael Carter is that. But anyway, it was interesting that Carter actually outsnapped Zonovan Knight, but the touches weren't close. I still think there's nothing to worry about because we saw it. The Jets will prioritize getting in the ball because even with a decimated offensive line, he's really, really good. All right. Mike Evans just not getting it done as a fantasy option right now. As I was doing my write-up, I believe it was his best output, I believe, in 5 weeks is 10.4 PPR points. Now he's got a couple 8s and a 9. He's like right there, but Mike Evans isn't cracking like 10 fantasy points in games. Now he had a 60-something yard touchdown taken off the board for a holding call, and so that was just bad luck. It was one of those where he would have had it, but it is what it is. It's a fact that it's a longer term thing right now. And I did my rest of schedule rankings today. I have Mike Evans low, because Tom Brady is just not in sync with him right now. It's just sad to watch. But the offensive line has problems. Tristan Wirfs is out. Evans can win in a lot of ways, but the downfield game is where he is just absolutely a monster. And between the bad line and Brady needing to get the ball out quickly and Brady preferring the middle of the field, though he is very good to the outside still, it's just a bad storm right now. And again, you just see him out of sync a little bit. And I don't know that that's coming around. I think a lot of it is just getting the ball out quickly and and I don't know if the coaching staff in Tampa Bay is making the necessary adjustments because Evans can do a lot of things, but it doesn't seem like they're leaning into that a whole lot. So anyway, right now, am I fair saying Mike Evans is a wide receiver 3 with a boom bust profile? Well, with 5 weeks of production, that's kind of what he's been. And I don't see any evidence that it turns out. Now, I know that touchdown, like I said, that was called back. It was there. It happened. But 5-week track record. And, I look at the whole season, and then I always do a rolling 3-week trend. And the trends the last 3 times I've sat down, it's been like, ugh. And I don't see that changing. Evan Engram, game of his life, right? I want to say he had like 6 touchdowns in his career, and he's like a 6th, 7th year guy. And he scores 2 in this game. Now he scored the prior week. So that's like, 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks for a guy that hasn't scored a lot. And it hasn't been his fault. A lot of it was like coaching and usage in New York. They just poorly use him. And remember, Evan Engram, like every week on the XM show early in the season, I'm pointing out Evan Engram, 3,200 on DraftKings. Play him. He's got a good floor. He's scoring floor. He's scoring well for his salary. And then he like faded for like 3 weeks. Like they weren't even getting him the ball. Well, guess what? Last week, 7 targets. This week, 15 targets. Now, it's funny because I was back and forth on Christian Kirk. There were times I went for him this week. And then as I got down towards Sunday and I'm really just continuing to break this game down further, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Trevor Lawrence has his advantages everywhere against the Titans secondary. And I said, usually Christian Kirk in the slot is his best edge. Well, because Zay Jones is a good player, but not an elite player. And Marvin Jones has seen better days, of course. And then, so Zay Jones in the slot normally has the optimal matchup. So Lawrence gets the ball there a lot, but literally everybody had an edge. So it was Zay Jones cooking. It was Evan Engram blowing up. And then Christian Kirk just kind of took a back seat to them. And so great matchup, poor fantasy day. Felt bad for Christian Kirk investors, but man, I I was very happy. Somebody on the live stream gave me like 5 tight ends, and they go, "Which one do I play?" And I said, "You know what? Start Engram." I go, "He's the one. At least he has something going for him. The matchup is good." Man, I didn't see that coming, but I'm happy for that fantasy manager. Hopefully, that person won their game. JuJu Smith-Schuster. So we got to remember that he had a concussion about a month ago, roughly, and he had a 20 snap game when he got knocked out. And then when he came back, he played about 20 snaps. So I don't know if he, was acclimated back in. But to say, we'll talk about that, Brian. Yes, we'll talk about that. But JuJu got back, so he saw, like 11 targets. I would say it was a big target game. Well, he had been regularly seeing 8 targets a game for like a 5 or 6 game stretch, and so he was really becoming a regular part of that Kansas City offense. And so he finally, it was a slow start to this game, and then he really picked it up. And so third time since week 6, he has 20 PPR points. And, I talked about this. I hyped up JuJu a bit. Now, look, we knew that Denver has those outside corners, but and I didn't even bring this up because lack of forum to talk about it. But Bryce Callahan, their slot corner, was out. Now JuJu moves around. He does play on the outside. A lot he plays inside, but they, they'll use him on in-breaking routes too. And a lot of times if a defense is playing zone, he gets passed off. And, playing man against Mahomes right now, that's really not smart because they have so many varied weapons. There's nobody you have to take out. They don't have that one wide receiver guy. And so Smith-Schuster fits in perfectly in this because teams got to play zone, and he's always done very well against zone. Very good interior route runner from the outside coming in. So it worked out really well, and it looks like he is going to be a very, very nice staple for the Chiefs and for fantasy managers going forward. DJ Chark. It's on a show with Billy Muzio last Friday, and we were talking some start sit questions for some of his listeners, and I know he was surprised I liked Chark over, I want to say, DJ Moore. He was like, wow, you like him over there? And I said, DJ Moore, I don't trust Sam Darnold. And, I know he hurt his ankle late, but he goose-egged. Well, DJ Chark, man, I'm telling you, I was not in on him before the season. I was like, you know what? He's a fast dude. Jared Goff throwing downfield, maybe not so much. But I tell you what, and I mentioned this in the breakdown scheme ahead of time, Jared Goff has been really good against zone. And the coaching staff, I tell you what, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for Fordor, all right. So yes, it's been really, really good right now. Jared Goff against zone, and like I said, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, just really understanding what his personnel is, what his quarterback does well. Jared Goff has had 3 good games in a row. Really like Jared Goff this week. And DJ Chark has that speed and Cam Dantzler was back in this game for Minnesota. I still wasn't worried about it. I didn't talk that up because I didn't want people to be spooked out of playing Chark. I didn't think it'd be a difference. And so I just kind of kept my, I kind of kept quiet on it on purpose because I didn't see it as a difference. And Chark, man, comes through 94 yards and a touchdown. Gets behind the defense like a 44-yard touchdown. Jamison Williams actually had a 44-yard touchdown in this game. And on that play, it was great scheme. I mean, so first of all, it was a read at the line of scrimmage. So they were playing a one-high safety look. And whatever happened in the pre-snap, the other safety who was left, he started crashing down. And when that happened, right away, Goff saw Williams schemed into space. Now, I think that was the original idea of the play, but now there was nobody there. And so he hits him wide open. Now, Jamison Williams, I want to say 19% of the snaps, 11 first week, 19 second week, 1 target first week, 2 targets this week. So I still think, like I said, Jamison Williams will be, ramped up a little bit as the season goes on. It's possible by week 17, week 18, we see him up into a higher snap share. But DJ Chark is really, really playing well in these few games back. And so right now, they're going to want to keep him on the field. And if it works out with Jamison Williams, they'll get them both on the field. Oh, man. And that would be fun to watch too. Last one, James Cook. And, I cautioned fantasy managers. I try to, again, I point out these 3-week trends, right? And Cook had great touches in 2 of the last 3 games. It was like 11 touches, then like 4 touches, then 19, and his snap share was all over the board. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't trust his usage. And I said the matchup against the Jets is nasty. So even if he gets some work, is he getting it done here? And so And he had 86 yards or more in those 2 games of the high volume. But of course, then there's the low volume. And of course, he low volume, so he had less than 20 yards. And so the whole point of this thing, Mario Puig, my RotoWire teammate, pointed out on the Saturday XM show, reminds me of Cook's a small dude. He's like 190. And so maybe they don't want to wear him down week after week. And that's possible. And I don't know that that's their philosophy, but it was very obvious here. It was a low volume game again for him. So he's a boom bust option. He's a boom bust flex until we see 2 weeks in a row where we have an established trend that Buffalo has the intention of using him regularly. We have to go with what we're given, and that given is very volatile workload. And then we got to look at matchup too. He has to be able to take advantage when he gets the touches. So right now, look, I think he's a very good player, and I think he's going to be, an excellent NFL player. But we work with the data we have, and that's it. All right, everybody. Hey, before I get to questions, if you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like and subscribe button. Would really love that. And if you like the content at RotoWire that we provide, we'll get you 2 days for free behind the paywall and no credit card needed, just an email address. Go to rotowire.com/try. All those who are here, thank you. It's a good afternoon, MSA. Thoughts on the game script tonight. So as I look at this game tonight, so the first thing is we got significant injuries. Rondale Moore, we knew was out. Greg Dortch steps into the slot. He's all 4 games Greg Dortch has played. It's been like 13.3 or more fantasy PPR points. He has been very, very effective. And I think he has a heavy usage tonight because here's my guess on what Bill Belichick does. So Patriots are good against the run without having to do anything special. My thought is they are going to put extra attention on both Hopkins and Marquise Brown. And they're going to say, okay, if James Conner beats us, fine. If Kyler Murray beats us as a runner, love the rushing prop on Murray because if I'm correct that Bill Belichick is going to go, double Hopkins, and even if Marquise Brown's on the slot, I think they may even bracket him there. And so I think Dortch, is going to have a lot of opportunity. And Dortch will be on the outside. He's a tiny dude. He's a kick returner, but he's already shown us if Marquise Brown would kick into the slot or something, he's very capable of, having weak coverage on the outside when he's not. Jalen Mills, the corner, is out for Arizona. It's one less body to deal with those receivers. He's one of their main priority 2 starters. And so anyway, I think that's the route we go. Now I think Hopkins will still get something done. He's DeAndre Hopkins. But I think he'll be slowed a bit. I think that if they bracket him, he'll be slowed. You might see 60 yards, which is a very good game. It's just we always want to see 100-yard games, right? And I think Marquise Brown does get limited here. I think that second bracket is an over-the-top one to mitigate his speed a bit. But I think James Conner's involved as a receiver here. He had a 97 and a 90% snap share over the 3 weeks. He had a 77 in there, so he's playing like almost every down. And he's not going to get much on the ground, but he should get plenty of action in the passing game. And New England will give that up. They will give up that production to some of these receiving backs. And so I see that. I see Dortch and I see Kyler Murray running. I don't see a lot of passing yards. The yardage from Murray isn't going to pile up to any high number. If we see 220 out of him, that's probably a pretty good one. On the other side of the ball, so Jacoby Myers is out for the Patriots. Damian Harris, and I know he rotates with Ramondre. He's out, but Ramondre, he gets a lot of work. I mean, it's a big dude. You saw him kind of tiring a little bit in that last game. Isaiah Wynn, their starting tackle, is out. I think Arizona at home, they're going to go a little bit blitz heavy here. And I think when they do that, I think they're going to try to make Mac Jones get a little skittish in the pocket. Without Myers, that outlet, I think Kendrick Bourne could be a thing. If you're playing the single game slate on DraftKings, look, this is a dart throw because Kendrick Bourne can see 5 snaps and be done. But I think with Myers out, Bourne is the closest thing they have to a player they can get into the space in the middle of the field. I mean, Parker's not, Tyquan Thornton really isn't, Nelson Aguilar really isn't. I mean, it even could move into the slot on occasion, of course, but really to run the routes that, you're going to need to kind of, break up the blitz, hot reads. I really think that's and the tight end could be involved. We could see Hunter Henry involved here, and they could even involve JuJu Smith a bit. So those are possibilities too. So, we don't know which one's going to be Bill Belichick. You really don't know that. Those are 3 possibilities of players who could pop up here. I do think the Cardinals could limit Ramondre a bit on the ground. Now, they're a bottom 5 run defense, right? But I think they're going to come in with the mindset, let Mac Jones beat us. And that's where I think Ramondre gets it done as a receiver here quite a bit. Overall, I think the Cardinals are not a good defense in any area, but I think they're going to have to blitz. They're going to have to blitz. They want to do something to make New England uncomfortable. All right, let's see what we got here. So you've got Murray, 240. So based on my number, he's under. I think Mac Jones, there's going to be a play action shot where he hits somebody deep. Could be Devontae Parker, it could be Aguilar. They're going to but I think they're going to blitz a lot. And Ramondre's going to get some receiving yardage. I just don't think he gets to 225 here. I think ultimately at home, Arizona's defense can make them uncomfortable. All right, we got quick gleans on which one we got here. Let's see. I hope I say your name right. Cigar. I hope I say that right. I don't want to say it wrong. That's why I don't say your name. I don't want to say it wrong. Prop on Hopkins at 75. Yeah, I was saying earlier, my lean is he gets about 60 yards a game. I have to think Belichick is going to bracket him. And he'll win some. And there's always a chance he breaks a big play. When we bet that under, I always get nervous. But over is the same thing, I guess. It's all relative. I'm thinking under on that. And then Stevenson, I was on the Better Sports Network with the Front Yard Fantasy guys today. And I think Stevenson's been getting like a ton of targets. It's like 7 to 10 targets a game for like over a month. I think he goes over that. Now, the rushing yards, again, if Stevenson breaks along when he's going over, and it's very possible he can. I think he has more damage done as a receiver than a runner here. I'm always nervous about the long run, and it's there because he can do that. But I am going to say under on the rushing yards because I think his receiving usage ends up being a little bit better. I'm going to say Connor, 16.5 rushing yards. Again, he like Stevenson, I think he gets it done as a receiver. I think it's right at that boarding. And New England is so good against the run. And now I think they're going to bracket. They're going to be a little bit light, but the run blocking in Arizona is horrific. Second worst run blocking team in league per Pro Football Focus. So I think that we are going under on the rushing yards, but Connor has his good game with the air. George, Barkley, Walker, and Pierce hurt. Is Gus Edwards a viable too? I think he is. I have not. It's still Monday, and even into Tuesday, I look back on the prior week, and I don't look much to the future matchup until Wednesday. So that is, point. But this looks like the 2020 breakdown where they both see Dobbins and Gus. They see double-digit carries, and it makes them both better. It makes Edwards better to be the change of pace. It really does. He plays better in that role. We saw the longer he was the lead guy, he had a little bit limited effectiveness, but being a changeup is a big deal. Yes, and MSA, yeah, Pollard, we talked about that on the show. Okay. Cousins with 425 passing yards. It was one of those things. Justin Jefferson was a beast. And you know what? Garbage time helped. The fact that the Lions got out to a lead and they were getting some pressure, but it was really the Justin Jefferson show. He just went bananas. And you know what? If you got Justin Jefferson, yeah, that's the quickest way to get to 400 yards passing. And then of course Thielen was open. We called that one too. We said Thielen had a really nice matchup here, and that looked really good. But yes, and of course Kirk Cousins will come around next week and get you 115 yards because that's just what we get. Brock Purdy did look good. You know what? This is the thing, and I don't think we had time to talk about this last week, but Kyle Shanahan is going to scheme success for him. Now, the injury to Debo is very critical, high ankle sprain. I've talked about this, though, when they had brought in McCaffrey. He wants positionless offense. He wants the jokers that you don't have to, nobody knows what you're using with him. You got McCaffrey, he can be a receiver, a running back, a slot. You put him anywhere. And Debo, you can put him anywhere. And defenses don't know what to do. And Kittle, is he blocking? Is he a downfield threat? Is he a middle threat? And then Brandon Ayuk blocks. So they have and Kyle Juszczyk. And so basically, defense don't know what to do. And basically, Kyle can set it up so you get the ball into the hands of a dynamic playmaker and every play because you've got them. And so that quarterback is set up for success. And so look, he has elevated some really good quarterbacks, Kyle Shanahan has. And so this is a great place for him to be. Yes, Brian, the elite catch by Zay Jones. Beautiful catch. It should have been right, should have been knocked away. And what a great adjustment he made. A great concentration. And again, Vorador, thanks for being here. MSA. Yeah, I think Murray goes over that. I think Murray can flirt with 70 yards rushing today here. So let me see. Brian, 13 from Hollywood. You know what? Hopefully he gets a touchdown. He'd get you there on that one. Hopefully he does get there. I do think Belichick's going to try to put a little bit of attention on him, but 13, that's a bar you can make. You can make that bar. I think so. And so Sauger. Okay. Sounds good. Sauger. Good. All right. Well, glad you guys are here. Thanks for hanging with me, everybody. Have a great day. Good luck tonight, and we will talk soon.